I need to do is understand it in a very basic way, right? So if you look at this, what's confusing about all of this?
All the different lights, colors.
There's reflections everywhere, right? So you'll spend more time trying to draw these reflections. You know, the whole idea is I designed this cup, doesn't matter what it is, but I've designed it. I just need to do enough to it to make it look shiny, you know, shiny glass, shiny metal, whether it's polished like this or brushed like that. I just want to do enough to it so that when you see it, it tells you what that is. Right? And keep in mind you're going to make notes. Okay. So here's the first thing, reflections. And that means reflections of the environment, everything that's around it. And what we want to do is learn to control that and make it as simple as possible so that once you see it, you just tell, okay, I understand that. Okay. So here's one of the rules. Reflections follow the form. So write that down. Reflections follow the form. You got that?
Same as shadows.
Well, shadows are caused by the form blocking the light.
The shadow follows the form.
Core shadows follow the form. All right. The shinier, here's another rule. Write this down. The shinier the surface, the sharper the reflection. Sharp meaning, look at these reflections on here. They're crisp. Look at the reflection of the handle. Isn't it sharp? It's a hard edge reflection. Right? See the reflection of the handle? Versus if I look at this is shiny, but it's less shiny, right? So the reflections, the edges of the reflections are more diffused. Okay, so the rule just then was the sharper, or excuse me, the shinier the surface or material, the sharper the reflection. The shinier the material or surface, the higher the contrast. That's the next rule. The shinier the material. When I say material, it could be chrome, it could be glass, doesn't matter. It could be paint, it could be plastic. But the shinier it is, the higher the contrast. And what do we mean by contrast? What's contrast?
Light and dark.
Light and dark, right? So, if I'm drawing something like chrome, and let's just talk about gray markers, right? Because you guys have 1 or 0 to 10, black. You know, on something really shiny, I could have black next to white on the same object, right? So high contrast would be white to black, white to number 10, white to number 9, white to number 8, 0 to 10, 0 to, 1 to 10, 2 to 10, that's still very high contrast, right? Okay. So the opposite about the duller the surface, the more diffused the reflections. Diffused meaning they're sort of fuzzy. And think about how you guys learn to do a foreshadow, right? You work the marker a little bit and you try to get that edge to be a little more fuzzy. Yeah.
Can you repeat that? The duller the surface?
The duller the surface, the more diffused the reflection. Diffused or fuzzy. Fuzzy is a technical term. Okay. So if you look at this, right, aren't the reflections not nearly as sharp as the ones on here? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The more or the less shiny a surface is, the lower the contrast. So lower contrast would be 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, 7 to 8, 7 to 9, 7 to 10. There's just a lot less of a spread between their values. Okay. So take a look at these two objects. What's the lightest color on here?
Silver, white.
Warm gray.
Oh, white. If I put the, do you see the highlight?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Probably white, right?
Yeah.
And then the darkest black.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the lightest light on this?
Yellow.
Well, it's not silver. It's not, when we render silver, we don't use
Grayish.
What number?
Light. Maybe 2,
0, 1, 2.
2,
Just talking about your gray markers. What's the darkest dark on there?
maybe 10.
8.
No.
Oh.
And maybe 8.
Probably
7,
7.
6, 8 maybe. Do you see the difference? Right. Much higher contrast. What's that? Okay, let's do a few little